Rumors were already swirling, and emotions were reaching a dangerous boil. On the Love and Hip Hop sets, whispers had been growing louder with each passing day. And if even half of what people were saying was true, the fallout from Sierra's explosive accusation had finally hit its breaking point. Insiders claim Mendeecees had reached the end of his patience. After days of public backlash, humiliation, and watching his name drag through the mud, he began speaking out, not in front of the cameras, but behind the scenes, where the real decisions get made. According to sources close to production, Mendeecees walked into a meeting with producers and, without any hesitation, made it clear, "I want Sierra off the show." This wasn't a throwaway comment or a moment of frustration. It was a demand, serious, deliberate, and final, and that wasn't even the full story. Word spread quickly that the tension had gotten so deep, even Yandy, usually calm, calculated, and collected, had snapped. Sources say she confronted Sierra off camera in a moment that almost turned physical. One cast member reportedly had to hold Yandy back after she screamed, "You don't get to lie on my husband and walk away." People who were there described the energy on set as terrifying. Some fans are already calling it the most intense meltdown Love and Hip Hop has seen since the early chaotic days. But the question hanging in the air was simple: what really happened when the cameras weren't rolling? And why were some producers now afraid this season had gone too far, even for them at first? Production thought the storm had passed. After the podcast blowout, the leaked footage, and a tense mediation session, many believed the cast could finally return to normal filming. There was even talk about smoothing things over and moving on like nothing had happened. That illusion shattered 2 days later when Mendeecees walked into the production trailer, stood still, calm but unshakable, and said again, "I want her." Off the show, the room froze. Some producers glanced at each other, unsure if he was serious. But his voice stayed low and deliberate. "You let her lie on me. You let her twist my image on camera. Now people look at me like I'm some kind of threat. I'm not filming another scene unless you do something about it." Behind him stood Yandy, arms crossed, expression unreadable. She didn't interrupt or add anything, but her silence said it all. This wasn't about reality TV anymore. It was personal, and when Yandy went quiet, people on set knew it meant something was brewing. That night, a voice note allegedly from Yandy leaked from someone in the glam team. "I'm done being classy about it. Next time I see her, it's on site." By morning, fan pages and Twitter threads were convinced Yandy and Sierra had already fought off camera. The truth was, it hadn't happened yet, but it almost did. On what was supposed to be a calm reset day for promo shoots and confessionals, Sierra arrived first, laughing with crew, fixing her makeup and scrolling her phone like nothing had happened. She hadn't spoken publicly since the mediator footage aired, but to fans, her silence came off as smug. The comments on her page were split, some defending her, others calling her a liar chasing clout. An hour later, Mendeecees and Yandy arrived. Their call times weren't supposed to overlap with Sierra's, but somehow, whether by accident or design, they did. That's when Yandy's eyes locked on Sierra. She froze, then slowly began walking toward her, removing her earrings. As she moved, Sierra didn't notice until a makeup artist backed away suddenly. "Oh, so now you're bold," Yandy said, voice loud enough for the whole room. "You think you can humiliate my husband on TV and just act like everything's cool? This ain't the time or the place." "Yandy," Sierra replied sharply, "it wasn't the time or place when you lied either." "But you did it anyway," Yandy shot back. Someone had already started recording on their phone, expecting just another heated exchange. But what happened next froze the entire set. Yandy stepped forward, close enough that there was barely space between them. She raised her hand, not to swing, not yet, but enough for a producer to yell, "Get her back now." Rashida rushed in, wrapping her arms around Yandy's waist. "You're not going to throw away everything you built. Not for her, not like this," she kept saying. Yandy was trembling, not in fear but in pure fury. "She tried to ruin us," she repeated. She lied on him and smiled about it. "You think I'm letting that slide?" For once, Sierra had no comeback. She just stood frozen, wide-eyed. Maybe she never thought Yandy would break character like that. But the shift in energy was undeniable. The crew cleared the set, canceled confessionals, tripled security, and by the end of the day, the executive producer was on the plane. The meeting that followed was short. Mendeecees refused to film with Sierra again. "She gets removed or I walk." When the producer turned to Yandy, she leaned forward and sealed it. "If she stays, we both leave." While the executives debated their options, someone leaked the blurry clip of Yandy nearly slapping Sierra. Context didn't matter. The internet lit up instantly. Headlines read, "Yandy almost puts hands on Sierra after mediator fallout. Tensions explode again." Mendeecees saw the clip in his trailer and passed his phone to Yandy. She sighed. They always frame us as the aggressive ones, even when we're the ones holding back. He looked at her and said, then maybe it's time we stop holding back. He didn't mean violence. He meant the truth. Every detail they had swallowed to protect their image. And this time, they weren't letting anyone else tell their story. No one was buying her version anymore. Behind the scenes, Sierra was unraveling. Her team had advised her to stay quiet, avoid interviews, and post nothing that could be twisted against her. But that silence had turned into something worse, guilt by omission. Her closest friends in the cast had stopped calling. Glam artists were canceling her bookings. Producers weren't answering her texts. And then she found out about the footage. Someone on the crew had saved a longer version of the scene. Not just the confrontation with Mendeecees, but the tense build-up before it, the glances, the pacing, the quiet plotting. Watch this. She whispered to her assistant off-camera. The footage hadn't aired yet, but producers were debating whether to use it. If it went public, there would be no denying her intent. In a private call with her manager, Sierra broke down. I didn't think it would get this far. She cried. Well, her manager replied flatly, you got your moment on set. Meanwhile, Yandy's anger wasn't fading. It wasn't just the fact that Sierra had lied. It was the way she smiled through it, moved around set as if nothing had happened. Still sitting at the same table while Yandy and Mendeecees carried the shame. You saw how close I was to slapping her, Yandy told Rashida one afternoon. And the worst part is, I still feel like I should have. Rashida shook her head. You did the right thing. You walked away. Barely, Yandy muttered. And now they're acting like I'm the one who needs to calm down. Like she didn't light the match in the first place. The cast was split. Some sided with Yandy and Mendeecees. Others stayed silent to avoid being dragged into the storm. But the atmosphere has shifted. This wasn't a storyline anymore. This was war. By the following week, the set felt suffocating. What had once been chaotic but familiar was now fractured into cliques, whispered warnings, and security guards posted in corners where none had been before. No one laughed between takes. Everyone was watching. Who was standing near Yandy? Who was near Sierra? And who dared to be seen with either one? Mendeecees still hadn't returned since his raw, unedited video leaked. He'd gone completely dark. No calls, no posts, no updates to production. Only Yandy knew where he was. And even she wasn't sharing details. But one thing was certain, he wasn't done. Sources said he was pressuring the network behind the scenes, demanding not only that Sierra be removed from group scenes, but that they issue a private apology to him and his family. And he wasn't bluffing. The network was rattled. Their golden couple had turned against them. What was meant to be another dramatic season had turned into a PR nightmare. Conflict brought ratings. Yes, but this time they had let Sierra cross a line on camera without stopping her. And now they were paying the price. Yandy, for her part, kept showing up to set. But her presence had changed. She walked with her back to walls, hands locked in front of her chest as if holding herself back from doing what her mouth wouldn't. She spoke to producers only when absolutely necessary. And then came the moment that froze the makeup trailer. Yandy locking eyes with Sierra across the room. You still showing your face? Yandy asked. Her voice low but razor sharp. Sierra adjusted. The room went silent until a producer stepped in. Ladies, can we not? I'm good, Yandy replied, raising a hand. Just checking what kind of woman smiles through a lie. Sierra turned back to the mirror, pretending to resume her touch-up, but her hand trembled as she picked up her lip gloss. The cracks were starting to show. Backstage, whispers grew louder. An intern overheard a meeting where someone from VH1 admitted they were being pressured by talent reps to decide Sierra's fate. Another crew member claimed the editing team had multiple versions of the episode, one that protected her and one that exposed her completely. The choice hadn't been made yet. Then came the new leak. An extended audio clip, nearly 90 seconds long, no video, just sound. But in it, Sierra could be heard laughing with her assistant before filming, saying, "This is gonna get people talking," followed by her rehearsing the exact words she'd later use against Mendeecees. It was damning. Fans erupted online. She planned it. They wrote, "This wasn't a trigger moment. This was premeditated. Get her gone." Hashtag surged again. Sponsors started calling producers, demanding answers. Some cast members threatened to pull out of scenes if Sierra stayed. Finally, the network caved, not a firing, but a quiet removal. Sierra would be excluded from all group filming for 2 weeks. Confessionals only. No scenes with Yandy, no scenes with Mendeecees, and no reunion tapings. For now, word spread quickly. Yandy's manager told her the news. She didn't smile. She just exhaled for the first time in days. "It's a start," she said, "but it's not enough." Mendeecees found out an hour later while scrolling through his kids' group chat. He read the message, set his phone down, and stared into the distance. "They're finally listening," he said quietly. But Sierra was spiraling. She'd been told about the leak just minutes before it went viral. Her phone lit up with missed calls and texts from people she hadn't spoken to in weeks. Her assistant sent one message, "We're in trouble." She called her manager, no answer. She called her publicist, voicemail. Opening Instagram was a mistake. The clip was everywhere, reposted by blogs, influencers, even verified celebrities. The comments were brutal. "You destroyed a man's reputation for clout. Fake tears. Don't work now. We see you." By nightfall, she turned off her comments. Her only post was a black screen, no words, just silence. Whether she meant it to or not, the silence felt like guilt. Yandy saw it, sent it to Mendeecees, and got nothing back but a double tap. They both knew a post wouldn't fix the damage. The cast continued to fracture. Erica Mina tweeted, "One thing about the truth. It always comes with receipts." She didn't tag anyone. She didn't need to. Bambi reposted Sierra's leaked audio with the caption, "So y'all gonna keep pretending this ain't real?" Scrappy liked it. Producers were losing control of their own show. Scripts were rewritten. Call times shuffled. New storylines rushed in to fill the gap Sierra had left. Through it all, Yandy stayed composed. But the air around her felt like a storm held back by sheer will. When a director asked if she wanted to address the situation in her confessional, she looked straight into the camera and said, "My record isn't crooked, theirs is." Fans ate it up, the narrative shifted. Mendeecees was now praised as the most composed man on reality TV. Yandy was celebrated for standing firm. Sierra, once a rising star of the franchise, had become one of its most divisive figures, but it wasn't over. Rumors swirled that Sierra was planning her own video, not a confessional, not an interview, but a personal recording in which she'd speak freely, show her own receipts, and tell her version of the story, whether it would help her or destroy her further. No one knew. Late one night, after dodging every call and watching her followers drag her name for days, she decided to fight back the only way she knew how, with her own truth. No producers, no glam, no script, just her phone, and a dark hotel room when she hit record. Her voice cracked in the first minute, her eyes were red, no filters, no edits, just raw emotion. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days, and maybe she hadn't. Sitting in the dim light, Sierra began softly, "I'm not going to sit here and pretend this season hasn't broken me. I've been called every name possible, manipulator, liar, cloud chaser, but no one has asked me what I was actually feeling in that moment. They just decided for themselves." She paused, holding back tears. "I never said Mendeecees put hands on me. I said I felt unsafe, and yes, I knew how that would sound. But that doesn't mean I planned to ruin him. It means I wanted to be heard." She claimed the leaked audio had been taken out of context, that she joked before scenes to calm her nerves and never intended it to sound rehearsed. She ended with a shaky whisper, "I'm not perfect, but I'm not evil either." The video hit the internet before sunrise. Within an hour, it had over 100,000 views. Comments flooded in, some showing sympathy, others doubling down on hate, and many in the middle saying the whole situation was too messy to know what was real. But the cast wasn't confused when the video was sent into the group text used to coordinate filming. Yandy didn't reply. She simply left the chat, and everyone noticed. Mendeecees was even more direct. On his Instagram story, he posted a simple quote in white text on a black background. "Remorse without accountability is manipulation." He didn't tag her, didn't mention the video, but the message was clear. The network panicked. Their attempts to control the fire had only thrown more gasoline on it. Sponsors were uneasy. Fan polls showed a sharp drop in trust toward the brand, and some accused VH1 of encouraging the setup just for a storyline. Producers knew they had to act fast. They arranged a closed-door cast summit. No cameras, no crew, just the main players in one room, mediated by someone completely outside the show. The meeting was held in a private event space outside Atlanta. No signage, tight security. Cast members arrived separately. The seating was strategic. Mendeecees and Yandy on one end of the table, Sierra on the other, with Rashida, Kirk, Scrappy, and neutral producers in between. For the first 30 minutes, Yandy stayed silent, letting Mendeecees lead. He spoke calmly but firmly about the damage to his name, to his family, to his peace of mind. "I've worked too hard to get out of the shadow of who I used to be," he said quietly, "and you dragged me back into it, not by telling your truth, but by twisting mine." Sierra nodded through tears. "I didn't think it would blow up like this. I was speaking from fear, not strategy." Yandy finally leaned forward. "Fear? Girl, you whispered watch this before the cameras rolled. That wasn't fear. That was performance. And you knew exactly what that moment would do." Rashida jumped in before Sierra could reply. "You messed up, just admit it, don't spin it. Don't sugarcoat it." If you don't do it from the start, maybe this would be different." The room went still. Sierra lowered her eyes. "I was wrong," she whispered. "I should have clarified sooner. I let it get out of control. I'm sorry." The apology was quiet but real. Mendeecees didn't speak. He just nodded once and looked away. Yandy's expression stayed sharp and unreadable. The mediator ended the session, encouraging everyone to take time before deciding on filming. No resolution, but something had shifted, not healed, not forgiven, but shifted outside. Fans waited with signs, some re-protect Mendeecees. Others had Yandy's face printed across posters. One fan shouted, "We got your back, Mendeecees." Nodded politely as he passed. Yandy said nothing. 3 days later, VH1 released a public statement in response to recent events. "We are working closely with our cast to ensure safety, transparency, and integrity moving forward. We remain committed to providing a space where all voices can be heard and all truth respected." It came with changes: mandatory security on all sets, confessionals reviewed before airing, and Sierra placed on probation, limited scenes, supervised interactions, and executive approval before any footage with her aired. Even so, something was lost. Mendeecees returned to filming, but only on his terms. Yandy came back with walls higher than ever, and Sierra, she was still there. But she wasn't the same. The show would go on, it always did. But this season would be remembered not for its love stories or petty fights, but for the moment it stopped feeling like a show and started looking like real consequences. If you've been following from the start, you know this wasn't just another love and hip-hop storyline. This was about what happens when a lie, even a small one, spirals into something big enough to wreck reputations, break friendships, and shake the core of a franchise. Mendeecees wanted Sierra gone, and for a moment, it looked like it might happen. Yandy nearly put hands on her. The cast split. Fans turned into investigators. The network scrambled to keep it together, and with Sierra still on probation, and Mendeecees and Yandy unwilling to stay silent, one thing's certain: this story isn't over. What do you think? Did Sierra's apology come too late? Was Yandy justified in confronting her face-to-face? Did Mendeecees have every right to demand she be removed? Or did the show need both sides to survive? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want the raw updates before the blogs twist them, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications, because here, the drama never dies. It just waits for the next scene. It's for the next scene.